Look at your kitchen. There is a knife in a drawer. That knife, or the knowledge of how to make it, is described in the Book of Enoch as a secret that was not meant for humanity to have. It was revealed by a being who was punished for revealing it. The knowledge was not taken back. Look at your bathroom. There is makeup on a shelf or in a cabinet or in a bag. The specific act of applying color to the eyelids, not cosmetics in general, not beauty in general, but that specific act, is listed in 1 Enoch chapter 8 as a secret that was revealed against the rules. The knowledge was not taken back. Look at your medicine cabinet. The pills, the compounds, the plant-based remedies, every one of them traces in a direct ancestral line to what the text calls root cuttings, the knowledge of which plants affect the human body and how. This too is listed in 1 Enoch chapter 8 as revealed knowledge, revealed without authorization. The knowledge was not taken back. 1 Enoch chapter 8 verse 1, composed roughly 2,300 years ago, found in Aramaic fragments among the Dead Sea Scrolls, preserved complete only by the Ethiopian Orthodox Church, which never stopped treating it as scripture. And here is the detail most people have never been told. The New Testament itself quotes this book. The Epistle of Jude, chapter 1, verses 14 and 15, quotes 1 Enoch chapter 1, verse 9, almost word for word. The book that was left out of the Western Bible is quoted inside the Western Bible. It is the only door in the canon that still has the key sitting in the lock. And Azazel taught men to make swords and knives and shields and breastplates, and made known to them the metals of the earth and the art of working them, and the beautifying of the eyelids, and all kinds of costly stones, and all coloring tinctures. And Semjâzâ taught enchantments and root cuttings, the knife, the eyeliner, the medicine. The text that named them is 2,300 years old. The things themselves are older. And the story of when they appear in the archaeological record is stranger than either side of this argument usually admits. Here is what the text says happened after these things were taught. The archangels, Michael, Uriel, Raphael, Gabriel, witnessed what the watchers had done and brought a formal complaint. 1 Enoch chapter 9 verse 6, Thou seest what Azazel hath done, who hath taught all unrighteousness on earth, and revealed the eternal secrets which were preserved in heaven, which men were striving to learn. Read that phrasing again. Eternal secrets preserved in heaven, not things the watchers invented, things that already existed in the same celestial archive this channel examined in the previous video, and were deliberately withheld. The watchers did not share their own cleverness with humans. The text's accusation is that they leaked something from a locked collection. The Greek tradition records the same shape of event under different names. Prometheus takes fire from the gods and gives it to humanity. Zeus punishes him with eternal torment. Humanity keeps the fire. In 1 Enoch, Azazel reveals the metals and the cosmetics. God has him bound and imprisoned to await judgment. Humanity keeps the metals and the cosmetics. Two traditions, two vocabularies, one skeleton. A divine being transfers reserved knowledge. The being is punished forever, and the gift is never revoked. And notice what the Enoch text concedes in passing. The secrets were things which men were striving to learn. Humanity was already reaching for this knowledge. It had not arrived. The text's claim is not that humans could never have found these things. It is that someone moved the timetable. That is a precise and testable kind of claim, because if a timetable was moved, the archaeological record should show knowledge arriving ahead of its own development. Mature technologies with no local learning curve. Keep that test in mind. We are going to apply it 3 times. I'm Dr. James Mercer. Subscribe now and turn on notifications. What I'm about to walk you through has been in the text for 2,000 years and in your home your entire life. Let's go back to the beginning. The first thing, the knife in your kitchen. The text is specific. Not Azazel taught men about metal. Azazel taught the making of blades and made known to them the metals of the earth and the art of working them. 2 separate transfers, which rocks secretly contain metal, and the firecraft that gets it out. Geology and metallurgy, the full chain from ore to edge. Now the record. For thousands of years, humans worked only the metal they could see: native surface copper, iron from meteorites, cold hammered into soft trinkets and small tools. Sites like Çatalhöyük in modern Turkey show this stage as far back as the 8th millennium BC. Cold hammering is observation. You see shiny stone, you hit it, it bends instead of breaking. Any patient watcher of nature gets there. Smelting is different in kind, not degree. Smelting requires believing that a dull rock with no visible metal in it contains metal, that fire of a specific charcoal-forced temperature will pull out something you have never seen in that stone. Nothing in ordinary experience teaches this. The first smelters in the Balkans and the Near East around 5000 BC were performing an act of applied faith in an invisible content of rocks, then bronze. Around 3300 BC, in Mesopotamia, smiths begin alloying copper with tin, and the tin is the scandal archaeologists politely call the tin problem. Copper deposits and tin deposits do not occur together. The nearest usable tin sources lay hundreds, sometimes thousands of miles from the copper cultures using them. To make the first bronze, you must already know that this specific distant gray metal, mixed into copper at roughly 1 part in 10, yields a material harder than either parent. That is not something you stumble into. That is a recipe. And the record shows the recipe operating across a supply network of continental reach at the very dawn of the technology when nobody had yet had time to learn it. Every knife in your kitchen is the descendant of that recipe. The stainless alloy, the controlled quench, the understanding that specific metallic combinations produce specific properties. The chain runs from your kitchen drawer back to the tin problem, and the tin problem is still, honestly, a problem. The second thing, the makeup in your bathroom. Again, the text is surgical, not beauty, not adornment. The beautifying of the eyelids and all coloring tinctures. Eye makeup, named as its own transferred secret. The oldest complex eye cosmetic is kohl, ground dark minerals applied around the eye. Kohl containers fill Egyptian and Mesopotamian graves from around 3000 BC. For 2 centuries, Egyptology filed this under vanity. Then, in 2010, a team from the Louvre and the French National Research Center, CNRS, published an analysis in the journal Analytical Chemistry, and vanity fell out of the file. 2 findings. First, ancient Egyptian kohl, at the concentrations it reaches when tears diluted around the eye, stimulates the local tissue to produce nitric oxide, a trigger of the immune response, giving measurable protection against the bacterial eye infections that were endemic and blinding along the Nile. The eye paint was a working medicine. Second finding, and the stranger one, 2 of the lead compounds in the kohl, laurionite and phosgenite, barely occur in nature. The Egyptians were synthesizing them. Wet chemistry, deliberate multi-week chemical preparation 4,000 years ago to manufacture compounds whose therapeutic effect on the human eye they had no microscope to see and no germ theory to explain. The Louvre team wrote it plainly. This was the work of chemists making medicine. The text says the watchers revealed the beautifying of the eyelids. The beautifying and the protecting are one act encoded in one practice. Somebody at the start of that tradition knew what a specific mineral compound does to human tissue at a specific location. Knowledge our own science only caught up with 16 years ago. Your foundation with its zinc oxide, your sunscreen, your sealed lipstick, the entire modern principle that face chemistry is body chemistry, descends from a practice the text lists as lesson 2. The third thing, the medicine in your cabinet, hold enchantments. We will come back to that word because it is hiding something. Root cuttings needs no interpretation. It is pharmacology. Which plant, prepared which way, at which dose, does what to the body. The oldest medical document we possess is a Sumerian clay tablet from Nippur around 2100 BC, a working pharmacopoeia of plant, mineral, and animal preparations, written in the settled shorthand of a tradition already old. The Ebers Papyrus of Egypt, around 1550 BC, lists over 700 remedies with the calm of an institution, not the excitement of a discovery. Wherever we first catch ancient medicine on paper, it is already mature. The learning curve happened before the record, or somewhere the record cannot see, and the contents converge. Willow bark for pain and fever appears in Mesopotamian tablets and in the Ebers papyrus, and separately in herbal traditions as far away as China and the Americas. In 1897, the active molecule of willow, salicin, was refined into acetyl salicylic acid. You call it aspirin. It is in your cabinet right now, the 6,000-year-old drug. Egyptian papyri describe pressing moldy bread onto wounds, a practice debated by historians, but sitting uncomfortably close to 1928 when Fleming watched a mold kill bacteria in a dish and called it penicillin. Here is the point the text forces. The relationship between willow bark and your pain receptors is a chemical fact. It was true before any human knew it. The text claim is that it was known before any human knew it, preserved in the archive, withheld, then leaked. Medicine, in Enoch's telling, was not invented. It was declassified. As you sit with those three, the chapter has more to give. 3 further findings, each stranger than the last. The first, the text says Azazel taught all coloring tinctures, and one ancient color refuses to behave. Egyptian blue, the first synthetic pigment in human history, appearing around 3200 BC. It is not ground-up blue rock. It is a manufactured crystal, calcium copper silicate, cooked from limestone, copper, and sand at around 900 degrees, a compound that does not exist in nature. Egypt's faience workshops led up to it, but the finished pigment is a true synthesis, the oldest artificial material made for no purpose except its color. Rome inherited the recipe, then Rome fell, and the recipe died. For over 1,000 years, nobody on earth could make Egyptian blue, humanity's first synthetic invention forgotten. If you have followed this channel through Roman concrete and Maya plaster, you know this pattern by name now, but the rediscovery came with a twist no one expected. In 2009, chemists reported in the journal Chemical Communications that Egyptian blue glows powerfully in near-infrared light, light just past the edge of human vision. The glow is so strong that museum conservators now aim infrared cameras at ancient objects, and traces of Egyptian blue invisible to the naked eye blaze out of the surface. Vanished decorations, erased figures, brush strokes gone for 5,000 years, suddenly legible. The first synthetic color turned out to be an invisible ink, and today that same crystal's glow is being studied for security inks and biomedical imaging. A 5,000-year-old material is being hired by 21st century technology for a property its makers could never have seen. Whether they knew what they had made is a question with no possible answer. What we know is that we didn't until 17 years ago. The second finding. The Prometheus parallel is not a loose resemblance, and Greece is not alone. Mesopotamia, centuries before First Enoch was composed, told of the Apkallu, 7 sages, recorded in the sage lists and in the account of the Babylonian priest Berossus, who came out of the sea half fish and half man, and taught humanity writing, temple building, crafts, and the arts of civilization before the flood. The Maya Popol Vuh says the first humans saw and understood everything until the gods, alarmed at their own creation, dimmed human sight as the face of a mirror is breathed upon. The knowledge axis runs the other way there, taken, not given, but the axis is the same axis. And the Hindu tradition holds that the Vedas were not composed, but heard, Shruti, received by the ancient rishis from a divine source and carried down. 4 independent traditions, a transgressive gift in one, a punished theft in another, a revoked inheritance, an authorized transmission, 4 different legal verdicts on the same underlying event. The knowledge that makes civilization did not start with us. On the fact itself, the traditions do not argue. Now let me be fair to the other side of this, because this channel does not win arguments by hiding the opposing case. Mainstream archaeology explains the spread of these technologies through diffusion. Knowledge arises once at one hearth and travels outward along trade routes carried by merchants and migrants generation by generation. Diffusion is real, it is documented, it moved bronze recipes along the tin roads, and it is the sober default explanation, and most of the time it is enough. But watch where the default strains. The same medicinal plants, prepared the same ways for the same conditions, appear in the pharmacopoeias of Egypt, Mesopotamia, India, and in herbal traditions of the Americas on the far side of an ocean the trade routes did not cross. Complex mineral cosmetics appear in Egypt and Mesopotamia in the same window, then develop along different lines. Sisters, not copies. And the technologies keep arriving in the record the wrong way around. Mature first, learning curve missing. Diffusion predicts that when a skill travels, its apprenticeship travels with it. You receive the craft and the years of failure that shaped it. Again and again, the failure years are not in the ground. Archaeologists know this, discuss it honestly in the literature, and hold reasonably that absence of evidence is the excavator's oldest enemy. Perhaps every missing learning curve is simply an unexcavated one. Perhaps. But notice what has happened to the argument. To defend the standard model, we now need the record to be systematically incomplete in the same direction every time, always missing the apprenticeship, never missing the mastery. And the one ancient text that predicts exactly that shape, knowledge arriving ahead of its own development because a timetable was moved, is the text nobody in the academy will put on the table next to the trench reports, not because it has been examined and dismissed, because it is filed under religion, and the trench reports are filed under science, and the two filing cabinets do not speak. This channel exists in the gap between those cabinets. The third finding is a single word, and it has been sitting in plain sight in chapter 8 this whole time. Semjâzâ taught enchantments and root cuttings. Enchantments. In the Aramaic fragments and the Greek and Ethiopic texts, this term has troubled translators for as long as the book has been translated. It is a word from the vocabulary of forbidden craft. But what practice it actually referred to 23 centuries ago is genuinely uncertain. Translators reached for enchantments, sorcery, spells, words that tell you what the practice was called, not what it was. Notice the company the word keeps in the sentence, not omens, not curses. It stands directly beside root cuttings, inside a curriculum of metallurgy, mineral chemistry, and plant medicine. Everything else on the list is a technology. So here is my reading, and I will label it as exactly that, my reading, not a finding. If the fourth item belongs to the same family as its neighbors, then it was a craft, a way of pushing natural processes toward results nature doesn't volunteer. And the oldest such craft in every ancient culture, older than smelting, standing right at the foundation, is fermentation. The controlled transformation of one substance into another by an invisible living agent. Grain into bread, grapes into wine, milk into cheese, wine into vinegar, a process the ancients could direct with precision and could not explain at all, the working of an unseen force, summoned deliberately, producing transformation on command. Tell me that would not have been named with a word from the vocabulary of magic. It is the most ordinary miracle in your home. It is in your bread right now. I may be wrong about the word. 2,000 years of translators may be closer than I am. So I am putting it to you, and I mean this as a real question, not a ritual one. Look at the sentence, a curriculum of metal, chemistry, and medicine, with one untranslated seat at the table. What craft do you think is sitting in it? The comment section of this channel has corrected me before. It is now part of how this search works. But step back, because the shape of the whole is the real discovery. Tools and weapons, mineral chemistry, the beginning of materials and medicine on the skin, root cuttings, pharmacology, and a fourth craft of directed transformation. That is not a random list of party tricks. That is a foundation set, the minimum kit from which a technological civilization can bootstrap everything else. Whoever composed Chapter 8 was not compiling rumors. They were describing a curriculum, specific knowledge transferred at a specific moment by named teachers who were punished for the transfer, while every item on the syllabus stayed behind. In your kitchen, in your bathroom, in your cabinet, everything built since was built on the curriculum. And the text does not end there. It says the teachers were sentenced. Chapter 10 gives the sentence in detail. where Azazel was taken, how he was bound, and the one instruction about him that the text repeats with strange urgency. The address it gives has a name. That is the next piece of this search. Subscribe now and turn on notifications. When the next piece goes up, you need to have seen this one first. I'm Dr. James Mercer. The moment I have more, you'll be the first to know.